There's a moment in life well, it's unlike anything else. It's that feeling when you look around a room and you realize every whisper, every single cold stare, it's all pointed at you. And this isn't some simple misunderstanding. No, this is a united front. This isn't just a bad day. It's a terrifying crack in the foundation of your world. And that exact moment, that's where Machiavelli's most ruthless wisdom really begins. So the big question is, what do you do? What do you do when the people you thought you could count on just vanish into thin air? When your survival suddenly isn't about who has your back, but about becoming someone they simply cannot stop. You know, most people, they crumble right here. But we're going to talk about a very different path. Okay, the very first thing you have to understand is the reality of the situation. And this insight right here, it's absolutely crucial. The hostility you're facing, it isn't personal, not in the way you think it is. It has nothing to do with your good intentions. It's all about their primal instincts. They're not really opposing you. They're protecting themselves from whatever it is you represent. All right, so let's really get into that initial moment of impact, that shockwave, that gut punch feeling, when it hits you that you are utterly and completely alone. Just imagine for a second that you're standing in that room. The air feels thick, right? Heavy with all these unspoken accusations. And all you want to do is explain yourself, justify your actions, just set the record straight. But you have to realize that in this room, the truth is totally irrelevant. They've already decided on a story about who you are, and every single thing you do or say from now on is going to be filtered through that negative lens. Now, let's think about the real reason they're so hostile. It's not because you're weak. Believe me, people just ignore weakness. It's because you're a threat. They sense your potential to shake things up. They see that you refuse to play by their unwritten rules. And frankly, that terrifies them. So this opposition you're facing, it's actually a twisted compliment. It's a signal of your own hidden power. And this is the turning point. This is that exact moment when you stop reacting with hurt and you start analyzing with cold, hard precision. This is where the entire game changes. You see, under this kind of intense pressure, the sheer weight of everyone judging you all at once, most people just break. They get desperate, they get reactive, and you know what? They lose. They end up playing the exact game their enemies wanted them to play all along. But there's another way. Instead of shattering, your mind can become sharper. This adversity, it becomes a forge. The process of having all your support stripped away becomes a moment of absolute, pure, unfiltered clarity. And this clarity leads to something called internal sovereignty. Think of it like a deep, unshakable certainty in your own path. It's an unbreakable core that's built in silence, forged when no one is around to clap for you. And once you have this, well, the opinions of the outside world, they just lose their sting. You're no longer a hostage to their approval or their disapproval. Okay, so let's get practical. You've got this inner core, this new mindset. But how do you actually navigate the storm? The answer, you'll find, is the opposite of what you'd expect. And right here, you can see the strategic pivot in action. Look, they expect a reaction. In fact, they are craving it. They want you to justify yourself, to plead with them, to explain everything. They want you to fight back, but on their terms. Your strategy? Deny them everything they want. You don't justify, you observe. You don't plead, you outlast. You don't react, you stay completely, powerfully silent. The key takeaway here is that your silence is a weapon. It creates a vacuum they don't know how to fill. They can't predict you, they can't put you in a box, and because of that, they can't control you. Your refusal to react actually forces them to reveal their own weaknesses, their own desperation. And you have to remember this fundamental truth. A mob might be aggressive, but it's also incredibly fragile. Hatred is loud, yeah, but it burns out fast. By refusing to engage, you are literally starving their fire of oxygen. They will exhaust themselves trying to get a reaction you simply refuse to give. Real power isn't about winning the fight. It's about outlasting it. So now let's totally reframe this whole experience. What if this whole thing, what if it wasn't a curse? What if this was the exact process needed to create the absolute strongest version of yourself? If you are facing this kind of opposition, you need to take it as a sign. The world doesn't waste its time turning against people who are insignificant. No, it turns against the one who's on the rise, the one who threatens the way things are. This hostility you feel is actually the world's unwilling confession that you have potential. So this becomes your path of transformation. Step 1, you just survive it.
You endure. Then step 2, you gain clarity. You analyze why they're really against you. Step 3 is discipline, mastering your own reactions. And finally, step 4, you take back control by completely rewriting the story they tried to trap you in.
And here is the great paradox in all of this. Every single attack teaches you something. Every betrayal shows you a weakness in them. Their hostility is basically free intelligence. It's a roadmap that shows you exactly what they're afraid of and where their weak points are. You'll learn more from your enemies than you ever could from your friends. Which brings us to the final stage of this whole metamorphosis. Because after you've survived, you've learned, you've grown, you are no longer the target. You are becoming a force of nature. Think back to how it all started. It was a group effort, right? A collective decision to push you down, to make you disappear, to just bury you under the weight of their judgment. And this right here, this was their fatal mistake. They saw pressure as only a destructive force. It never even occurred to them that it could be a creative one. They didn't realize they weren't burying a seed. They were compressing carbon into a diamond. So that same world, the one that coordinated all its attacks and secretly celebrated your isolation, well, now it starts to sense something has shifted. There's a change in the air. And this is the great reversal. It doesn't come from a place of love or acceptance, but from a grudging recognition of pure strength. Your resilience has become its own form of gravity. You stop being the object of their hostility, and instead you become the center of a new reality that they are now forced to navigate. Let that one sink in for a minute. The goal was never, ever to win back their approval. That's a fool's game. The real goal is to build a reality, a competence, a presence so powerful that their approval becomes completely and utterly irrelevant. You win when they simply cannot ignore you anymore. And that's where we'll end it. The war for your survival is over. You've been through the fire. That hostility was a test, and you passed. So the real question now isn't about what you endured. It's about what you're going to do now, with all this strength, this clarity, and this freedom that you've earned. What comes next? That's entirely up to you.